Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host. Let's get into this. So, guys, I hope all is well. This is your first time tuning in. Hi, hello, welcome, thank you. Get on up in here. Please follow us on YouTube at Inappropriate Radio TV. No periodic table or alien talk. However, you already know the creator came through with the message. Alright. So, if this is your first time tuning in, we have actually started our segment about autism on Friday. Okay? We cut into it with our message in Saturday. In other words, we went off topic, and then yesterday we resumed. Now, because of the information that we came across, where basically research anyway is pointing to autism possibly being caused by procreating with your ancestors, right? Or ancestral genetics crossing and coming into contact with one another where they should not be. Okay? Let's just put it like that. So, initially, a lot of people thought that Asperger's as well as autism was caused by interbreeding, right? Of course, as time has went on, we found out that it has a lot to do with the genes and not just interbreeding. Even though it is one of the main factors, environmental factors, stress, different types of stressors, doesn't have to always be the mom stress, but that's obviously one of the types of stress. Anything can be stressful to a womb that is foreign, okay? That is anything other than the mom's womb. But in short, we were just trying to take the route of following up on, different research results that point to interbreeding and it possibly being a sufficient enough, anyway, explanation for autism, right? But then you have to think about the people that are inbred and they don't have these different conditions, right? And then you have to think about the people that do have these conditions that aren't related to one another. So that was a good reference point, okay? The first question that I looked up was, how related are we? Now, this information in this question has come up before for several topics that we've discussed, and it's common knowledge, right? That we all have this mitochondrial gene, the Eve gene, and we all, as the human race, share ancestry, right? Our ancestors are related. We're at least, a 50th cousin away, right? These things came up. And then, of course, that led me to the second question. If we're related, then why do we have different races, okay? That question was set to further investigate what we already recognized about being so close genetically, more than we may even realize. And especially now with people moving around geographically as well as spiritually, I'm pretty sure, once again, just like that fifth degree of separation is a lot now closer. So knowing someone that knows someone that knows someone, you can compare or apply that scenario to people that are genetically connected. Now, if you know anything about research and doing educational investigations, then you know that observations are a crucial part, right, of the data collection. You watch and you monitor. A lot of these types of studies are longitudinal, or they go on for long periods of time. Over the course of years. Most longitudinal studies, they go on for a minimum of 3 years, right? You have studies that go on for 20 years, 30 years, right? So this made me realize that the first portion of it is that a lot of the research that has been invested in autism is on the scientific side, okay? It's not really on the social side. Around 70% of the data that has been collected and just put together is mainly about people who have had personal interactions, okay? Whereas a majority of what we know about autism is based mainly on laboratory results, okay? This research is looking to explain the behavior, so it's not necessarily looking at the behavior. So that is our job. I'm not suggesting that we do a longitudinal study. I am, however, asking that if you would like to get real results, or if you are connected to an autistic child in any way, to sit back and observe and watch how the behavior will allow you to draw your own conclusions, okay? Because remember, these are case-by-case consensus. None of these cases are the same, not in the slightest bit. If you would like to contribute to any results, like I said, I myself am not suggesting that we do any, study. Your investigation should be based on what you already know, what you want to know, and what's in front of you for you to learn more of. Of course, there are other factors, but we want to keep it light, all right? Now, if we decided to include ourselves, right, in any of these, let's just say, scenarios where there is an abundance of people that have been diagnosed, no matter their level, okay? No matter how high or low functioning they are. If there is a diagnosis and you can see that there is a diagnosis or some condition, then you investigate, you observe, okay? And for this moment, I believe the Creator has us taking this approach because there are no real reasons that we know of for an actual cause. A lot of the other conditions we talked about, different things that can be related to spirituality, as far as the human vessel is concerned, they usually have a sort of explanation as to why this thing is going on, right? We talked about different sickness and illness and conditions, and when you do the research, there are explanations as to why this thing is what it is, right? But with autism, there are no definitive answers. So this is going to make it really difficult to look at things from a scientific, social, spiritual aspect, right? Because majority of the research is only scientific. And we don't have a lot of the social part to compare it to or against. In the interim, we have learned that there are tons of situations that we can get ourselves in or out of based on our smarts, right? And I want to say this because I want to make people fully aware, if you already don't know this. Autistic people are highly intelligent, okay? Maybe more than that of an average human, okay? That you and I may know. And I'm saying that to say that this level of intelligence doesn't come from nowhere. This level of intelligence, it comes directly from the Creator. So you have to make sure that when you are observing, you are not observing skewed behavior, skewed information, and things that are not original and likely of these, autistic people. We have a lot of reasons, right, for calling this thing different because it doesn't fit the status quo of what we know. And that's where you have to start asking yourself, what exactly is normal anyway? Right? Who set the standard for what's right and what's wrong and what's different and what's weird? And, what the standard is. Who set that? Because if we're seeing some sort of consistency, a dramatic rise, right, over time, we have to realize there's a reason for this. And it could just simply be gene mutation, right? It doesn't have to mean that anything is wrong. It could just mean that our genes are mutating. And this is exactly normal and exactly what the Creator wants. It has nothing to do with some evil, wicked scientist in some regime to kill off, people. It doesn't have to always be some conspiracy theory. It doesn't have to always be, some plot and plan and scheme simply because we don't understand it. Once we get to a level where we are able to place ourselves right in the center of these environments where we can have so many different scenarios, right? And we have a bunch of options, a bunch of things to look at and say, this is a possibility, that is not a possibility, right? We need to make sure we're doing that because of the wide variety of, symptoms. There are people who are autistic and no one really knows because they don't have the quote unquote traditional symptoms, right? So we have to be careful with the verbiage and how we decide to look at people that don't look like us. And this is kind of like us sliding in to, the next topic. All right, we're building. But I'm going to end it here. I do love you all. I hope you guys are drinking your water eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. I love y'all.